Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxey.
What's up? Welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. This is your host, Mark Roxey, and thank you for being with us tonight. I am here with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up?
What's up, man? You looking all cool, man. Got the glasses on, got the hair flowing, the teeth all white. Boy, who are you over there, boy?
Oh, man. Harold. Check it out, bro. Man, I've been, first of all, thank you for listening in today. Harold's commenting if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, you can't really see what's going on, right? Because you're not on YouTube or Facebook. So don't forget to join us on YouTube and Facebook, and you will be able to see us live in living color. And what Harold's talking about is I've actually lost, Harold, 45 pounds, man. I'm down 45 pounds from January 5th, 2 months. How about that?
Looking like a movie star over there.
Oh, you are good to me. You are too good to me, brother. You really are. Thank you for saying that. Listen, and it's time for you and I to be good to our listeners and our fans here on the Boxing Breakdown, because we are here today and we have a great show for you. And I am sure that you guys have been watching this past weekend, and you've been following the news on Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. The fight is scheduled for April 22nd on Showtime pay-per-view, and this is going to be a mega fight. So we're going to chop that up tonight, and we're also going to just do a little recap on the Caleb Plant versus David Benavediaz fight. Those of you that saw it, you know exactly what happened. And but for those of you that didn't watch the fight, we'll be able to share that with you. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the scuttlebutt with Usyk and Fury, and then also touch on the Jose Ramierz fight versus Richard Commey, and what does Richard Commey do next? We're going to pose that as a question for you listeners. So if you're listening in and you want to get in the conversation, feel free to do so. You can just drop your comments if you're listening on Facebook, and we'll be happy to put them on the air and answer your questions. So with that being said, let's Harold, let's get into this Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight scheduled for April 22nd on Showtime. What you got, brother?
Well, it is historic in the fact that there are two clauses that were put together for this fight. I've never seen it before, and maybe in the past it has been, but number one, there was a rehydration clause, which means you can only, regain weight at a certain amount. The fight is contracted at 136. Ryan's 140. So he's got to come down and make weight at 136. So that is a way to get the fighter, where he needs to be so it's equal in weight. However, Tank was applied that was the catch weight. He applied a rehydration clause, meaning that at 136, after the weigh-in on that Friday, Ryan cannot get any more than 10 pounds. So the body's naturally going to take on that. Usually there's only one or the other. But this time he is draining Ryan, making him come down to a weight that he's not comfortable at. And he's saying if you do rehydrate, you can't rehydrate past a certain point. Now, the rehydration clause will cause a financial situation. Floyd dropped $300,000 when he fought someone and he rehydrated over the weight. Floyd doesn't care about that kind of thing. So he still did that. With this, it's the same type of thing. In my opinion, Ryan is using it very wisely. He's going out to the public saying, hey, look, I've got to drain myself. I can't even do this. So he's telling the world, I can only eat 3 days a week. I can't drink water for 2 days. And he's getting the public to side with him in that he's being unfairly drained, and the stipulation of the rehydration clause is causing him a problem. But it honestly, Mark, it's selling the fight. America loves a sense of injustice. America loves the sense of someone being taken advantage of, and they want to root for him in a sense. And in actuality, Mark, this entire thing is what boxing is. Boxing is a way to get you to get an advantage. In college football, the number one team plays the number two team, and they know the number two team can run that ball. Guess what? The field is cut longer. So the grass is longer to slow down that team. Certain things are done on every level to gain an advantage. And that is what it's all about. So that being said, it's quite interesting that all this is going on. Tank is saying this, and Leonard Ellaby is chiming in on it. Now, he wants to say, "Oh, no, we're not making him do that." And then Ryan's trainer is saying, "No, we're not saying he doesn't have to eat and he can't drink or anything like that." So it's just a lot of good stuff going on here. So I'm just happy to see it. You could say Ryan's trying to make an excuse in advance if he loses. But if he wins, he has this huge platform to stand on. I was unfairly put in a situation, yet I still prevailed.
Well, I mean, okay. So that was a lot. That was a lot to chop up, but thank you for that. And you put a lot out there for us. And, the first thing I would just comment on, right, is I would say that Ryan Garcia signed the contract. He really knew what he was signing up for. He knew exactly what this is going to be. He knew that the fight was at 136 and that he was going to drop those pounds, excuse me. And but he signed the contract. So he really does understand what he's doing. And I think that, I don't think the weight's going to really be that much of an issue for him. I think it's more, I guess what I would ask you, Harold, and the listeners as well, is what do you think about Gervonta Tank Davis putting that clause in the contract? What does that mean? Are you making anything of that?
Mark, actually, I think it's par for the course. In boxing, whether it's this generation or 3 or 4 different eras, this type of thing goes on all the time. It's not anything new. It's not anything special. It's just that in our age of social media and this and that and the other, it seems like it's unfair. To the casual or to a lot of people, it seems like it's unfair. But as you said, Mark, correct. He signed the contract. All his people knew what they had to do to get him in to fit those parameters. So it's all good. As I said before, it helps to sell the fight.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, listen, well, first of all, I want to come back to that point of selling the fight. But before I go into that point of selling the fight, I just want to go back to what you said, which is about the rehydration clause, and just really unpack that for the listeners and just say like, okay, well, I'm just going to pose this out to everybody who's listening in, right? The rehydration clause is not uncommon, especially for a world championship fight. I mean, it happens all the time. So the fact is that if the fight is at 136 and he has to weigh in the next day, the question becomes, what time the next day? Does he have to weigh in? Because sometimes the weigh-in on the following day could be early in the morning. They could have an exclusive time already contracted for the weigh-in, which they haven't revealed. But if the weigh-in happens at 8, it's a different story, or 9. It's a different story if it happens if it happens at 5. But here's the thing. Then, like overnight, typically a fighter isn't going to really gain more than 5 to 8 pounds, unless of course they're pigging out and they're eating, a lot. Within the next, from the time they weigh in, for the next 8 hours, they probably will gain about 5, max 10 pounds if they're conscious of it. There's all kinds of stories. We know that. We all know that. But the real thing is, after he weighs in the following day, if he weighs in at 10 o'clock in the morning, he's got all day. And they're not going to make him weigh in the next day because they're not going to stop him from having breakfast. So the weigh-in, my guess is the weigh-in is going to be before breakfast. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But what I do know is that it's not really that big of a deal, particularly if the rehydration happens earlier, because, throughout the course of the day, he's going to have breakfast, he's going to have lunch. So at the end, even if he gains 15 pounds, he can still gain those 15 pounds the following day during the day of the fight, or 10 pounds, right? So I guess what I'm saying is they're making a big deal of all of this, but at the end of the day, as long as he gets into the 136 package, the rest of it is kind of easy, because he's just going to gain the weight throughout the course of the day. And I think there's something to, Gervonta Davis asking for that clause, or really mandating, or his team mandating that clause be in there. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, because Gervonta Davis has fought many of his fighters are bigger. Most of the guys that he fights are bigger fighters, right?
Yes.
So, if most of the fighters are bigger fighters, I don't think he's really worried about Ryan. I'm saying I don't think he's really worried about Ryan Garcia being a bigger fighter. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I believe he has no problem with that. It's just that the mechanism that he's attached to, the Heyman and the Floyd and all those guys who are history type guys who've seen all of this come down the road, who's experienced it, been through that, they understand how it works. And as they went through their own careers and careers of people that they have charge of, they see the benefit of applying these two pieces. So to me, it's just like a really good lawyer who knows how to wrangle those this and that and the other, and to get you where you need to get, to get off or get out, or however it is. So I can only commend them for using what was available to them in the boxing world, which is the Wild Wild West, and making it work. As you said, Ryan, of course. Now, I love the fact what you said about they may weigh him in the morning, where his body is not even awake yet.
Right.
So if they weigh him in the morning, from what I know of the human body, it's not going to take on that weight yet. It's just not awake yet. So if they get him in there, like you say, 9 or 10 for the rehydration, he comes under, it's all good. He could pick up, as you said, Mark, he could pick up 20 pounds by the time fight time comes. So we don't know when. I would know, you would know, because you've been through this so many times. I don't know when that rehydration weigh-in will occur. So
yeah, well, typically, as I said to you before, it will happen sometime throughout the course of the day. A lot of it depends on what the commission, what the commission schedules it, really. But it could also be in the contract. I would have put it in the contract. I personally would have put it in the contract. But I think that, again, Ryan Garcia is not probably interested in gaining 20 pounds. I really don't think that's the case. I think he'll probably come in, if it's 10 pounds, right? And he comes in at the fight is at 136. So 10 pounds would put him at 146, right? He weighs in at under 140. Let's say he weighs in 145 the following day. After that, after 145, he's still got room for another 5-10 pounds. So you're talking about 155? I mean, my gosh. I mean, it's still going to happen. And I think that's the real thing that you got to look out at this fight. You got to really take a close look at the fact that Ryan Garcia is the taller fighter. He is the bigger fighter, and he's shrinking himself down into that 136. But, he's got the height. How do those pounds, factor into the fight? I really don't know the answer to that. This is a 50-50 fight, man. I'm making this a 50-50 fight. I think that's why, right? That's why it's such a popular fight. This has been the fight that people have been looking forward to all year long. We've been talking about this on the Boxing Breakdown for years, because we used to talk about, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. We had all those guys. Oh, and Devin Haney all locked up into the same category. And we were longing for these fights to happen. And now, a year and a half later, it's actually happening. And this fight is, I remember us talking about, go back to the previous Boxing Breakdowns. Anything that you see where you got Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, you can go and look at those podcasts and you will see what we talked about. Because we've been breaking this fight down for a year and a half, maybe even a little longer. And, I'm just really excited for the fight. As I said to you before, Gervonta Davis has a full plate. Gervonta Davis is a very intelligent fighter, super, super smart. His record is 28-0 with 26 big wins coming by way of KO. He's got a 92.86% KO ratio. Okay. He's got an amazing KO ratio. Now, Ryan Garcia is 23-0 with 19 big wins coming by way of KO. He's got an 82.61% KO ratio, not far behind. It's only the number of fights that makes a distinction and makes a difference in the KO ratio. Gervonta Davis is from Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out Baltimore, Maryland in the house. And then, Ryan Garcia is from Los Angeles, California. So, these guys are going to lock horns. This is going to be a very, very big fight. And here's the thing. What are the guarantees? These guys are going to make so much money. Let's break down the money.
Okay, before we break down the money, I want to say one thing about the rehydration just quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
When you rehydrate too much, it can be a detriment. It could slow you down. It could cause fatigue sometimes.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
you're right.
When you don't rehydrate enough, it can cause a problem. So there's a sweet spot in there. There's a sweet spot. Yes, he could pick up the 20 pounds or whatever it is. And if he is overweight, he just pays some of his purse for each pound he's overweight.
Yeah.
So as you said, Mark, it's going to happen. How much he's going to have to pay, we're going to have to see. How much the rehydration is in his favor or not in his favor, we have to see.
It's not.
That just adds to the whole thing.
Listen, bro.
Let's talk money, because
Well, yeah,
I enjoy the money part.
No, but just to your point, and for the listeners, so you know what we're talking about. Gervonta Davis is 5'5.5". He's got 5.5. He's 5'5", and he's got a reach of 67 1/8. Okay, Ryan Garcia's got a reach of 70 inches, and he's 5'10". So Gervonta Davis is giving up 5 inches in reach. I'm sorry, in height. and 4 inches, almost 4 inches in reach. Not to mention the weight, whatever the weight ends up being a factor in this fight. So it's going to be really interesting for Gervonta Davis, what he's got to do. And if you go back and you look at some of his previous fights, he was not doing great in the Rolly fight. He was definitely not doing great in the Rolly fight. I was in the arena. I saw that, and I was thinking that Rolly might catch him. He was able to win, and he did win. He did sleep Rolly, but my point is the point. It wasn't until round 6 that Rolly Ramierz was out of there. But prior to that, Rolly put up a pretty darn good fight. Taller guy, right? The other thing is Hector Luis Garcia. That was a pretty good fight too. And they went. I was
in the arena for that.
Yeah. And so they went to the 9th round, right? It was a 12-round fight, but they went all the way to the 9th round. So now that's interesting. It's interesting when you look at that. I'm bringing it up. I'm sure you listeners are thinking about it. And then the Isaac Cruz fight went the distance.
Now he has a pass on the Isaac Cruz fight, obviously.
Why? Explain to the listeners why he has a pass.
The hand. He had to fight that gentleman with one hand the majority of that fight. So you must give him a pass because he wasn't able to drop that left hook.
Yeah.
That power hand because it was hurt. He had to win strictly on the right jab and the right hook, which was, poetry. Now, yes, we know he's smaller than Ryan, but we have to go back into the history to see Tyson was always smaller. Tyson always had the shorter reach. Tyson always had the disadvantage of height and weight.
Yeah.
And everything else. And he was devastating.
Yes.
When he started losing, it was because he no longer put himself in a position to use those attributes, and he stayed outside. Right. And he got picked apart. When he did lose, he got picked apart because he wasn't in the mode that he had been successful for previously.
Right.
So I don't see it as a detriment to Tank at all.
No.
Because he's still in his prime. He's still going to fight the way he fights. And Ryan may have all those attributes, but it hasn't bothered Tank in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't disagree with anything you just said. Not at all. I guess the only thing I'm saying is even if you go back to June 26th of 2021, when Gervonta Davis squared off against Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios took him to the 11th, that was a pretty good fight too. Arguably, you can argue all of it. Leo Santa Cruz got into the 6th round with him. I didn't really like that fight too much. I thought Gervonta Davis dominated that. I'm just laying out for the listeners what we're talking about here. And yeah, Gervonta Davis, Tank, if you're listening, then what we know, right, is you probably got commentary on all of this. You're like, nah, I beat that guy, slept them all. I get it. I really get that. What I'm saying is Ryan Garcia, man, he's got that sweet spot. He got that sweet check hook, that sweet left hook. What do you make of that, Harold?
Well, it's quick and it's off balance and it comes through. You can hardly see it. There's nothing to it as far as his winding up. It just comes out. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Okay, yeah. No doubt about it. And if he catches you, anyone is going to feel it and may go down. That's the case. That can't happen. No doubt about that. As I did my own film study, I watched how Tank handles a left hook. Now, some of them that he's been fighting, they don't come across as clean or as quick or whatever, but he naturally has a defense where he does it involuntarily and he tends to block that left hook just because of the way he fights. His fundamentals are there where his hands happen to be up. even when he's attacking or when he's going back or he's attacking, he just happens to keep those hands up. I've seen that. Now, I looked at Ryan when he was knocking people with that left hook. They were on the attack and they didn't even expect it would come out. Now, He landed that on some fighters and they blocked it a few times. Eventually, he was able to whip it in there before they could really block it. But they did have the understanding that that is a move you have to have when you're, when you're engaging come out. Now, Mark, I know you can better tell me how that mechanic is applied on a regular basis involuntarily. But from what I see on my side, my understanding, I think he'll be able to block that thing. And of course, they're going to be looking for that. But it will come. He will get hit with it. He will. But I think that he's going to minimize that. And if he can take it once or twice, I really think he's going to do what he needs to do. And as far as the body is concerned, if he gets inside on anybody's body, he's got good work to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could comment. I can comment on that if you'd like me to. I just,
absolutely.
I think stylistically, Harold, here, what you've got is, yes, Gervonta Davis is a dog on the inside. There's no question about it. He's got that rear uppercut. He's got uppercuts on both sides. He's got overhands. His body work is great. I mean, he's got a lot of tools in the tank. That's why they call him the tank. He's got a lot of tools in his tank. There's no doubt. At a step, when he's close up, when he's right up in the pocket, he can do a lot of really, really good work, especially if he's got you on your back foot. If he's got you going back, there's a lot that he can do. If he's got you up against the ropes, there's a lot he can do. Here's the thing. Coming in and going out is a significant problem for Gervonta Davis. And I know they know this. It's a problem because of that hook. And it's also a problem because of the straight right hand, because people don't talk about Ryan Garcia's straight right hand, but he does have a nice little chopper of a right hand. He throws it nice and straight. And if he clips you off that shot, he could get you. He could catch you good. But that left hook is a problem, man. It's a problem. Everybody knows that left hook is a problem. And the other thing is, we haven't really talked about the coaching staff, Harold. The coaching staff is significant.
Yes.
On both sides. And
let's go with Goosen first.
Well, so the thing is like Joe Goosen is really a talented coach. Tactically, strategically, he knows boxing. He knows boxing. Folks, do not take the coaching staff for granted. Because Joe Goosen is a very, very skillful coach. He knows the game inside and out. And I think there's some of this fight is going to be won by the coaching staff.
Just quickly, let me add to it. He's been with Ryan for many, many years. Please go ahead.
No. I mean, you're absolutely right. And Tank's coach has been with him since, I believe, when he's 7. I think he started with him when he was 7 years old. So these guys know they're fighters. And as much as it is a fighter's fight, and it is the fighters in the ring that are going to make this a major, major pay-per-view, I think the coaching staff here is going to do meticulous, amazing research, and their coaching is going to be on point, both of them. And as much as it is about the fighters, it's also about the coaching, because these guys have skills that pay bills on both sides. And, with that being said, this pay-per-view, I believe it's like an roughly $85 pay-per-view.
They try to change the price.
How so?
Just reason. I was reading briefly before we came on air that there's a possible price hike coming afoot. So I don't know if it's been solidified or it's just in the talks or it's a rumor. I didn't get that far in the information to really bring it to light.
Yeah.
But I did very clearly that there's a possibility of a change of price due to whatever red tape or whatever they could possibly find. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to speculate any further.
Well,
that was something that was said.
What I will tell you, okay, this is taking place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, so it's a major venue, major event. I think the $85 fee is kind of steep for especially the fact that, you know, the economy's really not doing that well right now. I mean, look, it wasn't doing well in COVID. We're just never doing well. You know, we're not winning economically. But that being said, you know, $100 is kind of the predicted price. It was kind of predicted somewhere around $100, $99, $99.99, something like that. But I think if they're going to lift this price, first of all, y'all need to get your tickets right away, or if you can even afford a ticket. I mean, I think ringside is what? Harold, you got your ticket to ringside? I think it's like $50,000. You got your seat?
Yeah, I was able to get that, you know, and that was a cut rate price right there. So, you know, and I'm sitting behind the ring post, you know, but I'm still there.
I think I'm going to try to get a job putting the ring together, and I'll just stay under the ring for the fight. It's $50,000 for a ringside seat, man. That's crazy. These guys are going to make so much money from this fight is all I can say. They really, I mean, they'll probably make what, $120 million off this fight?
Yes, but you have to look at Floyd said this guy can put together these kind of numbers and surpass me. Yeah. And this fight right here is going to be the first one to surpass him.
It's testament. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. I'm excited for Gervonta Davis. I just, you know, it just really, and his trainer, you know, I think of these guys coming out of Baltimore, Maryland. They both have had it hard. They both have had a very hard upbringing, man. That's not an understatement. And I'm definitely not overstating it when I say that they're both deserving of this opportunity. This is like, you know, they really, really deserve to be making this kind of money. I'm really just happy for them. I think it's an amazing opportunity for two fighters, a fighter and a trainer, on both sides, both teams. But it's just a beautiful thing to see that they can get themselves into a position where they can make life-changing money, not just for them, but for their entire families. This is a huge, huge win for Team Gervonta Davis. It really is. And also for Ryan Garcia as well. These guys, you know, we know what it's like to be a fighter. Like, I work with fighters all the time, and I have for many, many years. And the fight business is a really, really hard business. And to see these guys being able to do this paves the way for other guys, but it just really is what every coach and every trainer, anybody in the boxing industry dreams of, what these two are going to do in terms of the numbers from this one fight. And what comes after this is superstardom. So I'm really happy for them, man. I think it's a blessing for both of them, you know?
For boxing as a whole, because the fans are going to be clamoring for more fights of this type of magnitude.
Oh, yeah.
More fans are going to want to pay for unification or pay for popular fighters to get together, whether there's a belt involved or not. There's not a belt here. There's not a real belt here. Yet it still is garnering this type of attention because of the players in it. So I'm thinking the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see some of the biggest people fighting, whether there's belts involved or not, due to this fight here. And the trilogy that Fury had with Deontay kind of opened the door for that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, this is like the beginning of something big. For real, something big. And guess, and of course Joe Goossen's right at the helm of it. It's amazing, it's amazing that these guys are, in the position that they're in. So good for them, man. Good for them. And,
us too, all of us too.
Yeah. One of the things we didn't break down, Harold, in this particular fight matchup is the level of opposition that they both have faced, and I think it's worth noting. I mean, what are your thoughts, or do you have any thoughts on the opposition that these two have faced, and who's faced the better opposition?
I must say, as you said, he didn't look especially dominant in some of those fights because he was fighting some really quality guys. Tank Davis, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. He fought some really great guys who they were not intimidated or nothing like that. And they put their best foot forward, and he had to break them, which he did. Ryan has had some decent opposition. In my mind, maybe he's only 2 fights that really kind of, worked him a little bit.
Yeah.
He was knocked down. He got up and he won that fight on a knockout, and which was very impressive. I think he had one other fight that I think he had some opposition. I can't name that situation. So he has yet to do that. However, he hasn't been in any kind of wars in a sense, whereas Tank has been in war. I mean, not in war, but he's been hit.
Yeah.
He's been hit cleanly a lot of times as he's doing his work. But then he ends it so abruptly and so violently.
Right.
You tend to forget that he was hit somewhat going into that conclusion.
No, I think you bring up a really good point. I think that the level of opposition, not taking away from either fighters, both fighters, anytime you get in the ring, it's serious business, anytime you get in the ring. But I think to your point, you mentioned Garcia. Ryan Garcia was down in the Luke Campbell fight, is the fight you were talking about. And yeah, that was in round 2 where Campbell got the knockdown, and then Campbell went down in that fight in round 7, I believe it was. Yeah. So Ryan Garcia was down in the fight. He has been down. And as far as the opposition is concerned, you're absolutely right. They walked, Ryan Garcia has had a very, very different walk on paper to Gervonta Davis. I mean, Gervonta Davis has fought, Yurokis Gamboa, Leo Santa Cruz, Mario Barrios, Isaac Cruz, Rolly Romero, Hector Luis Garcia, and, now coming up against Ryan Garcia. So he's had a very significant level of opposition in the last 5 or 6 fights. Ryan Garcia's fought Romero Duno, Francisco Fonseca, Luke Campbell, Emmanuel Tago, Javier Fortuna, and now Gervonta Davis. So, when you put that side by side, it does kind of feel a little different in terms of the opposition that they faced. Not to take away from the skill sets and the level of fighter that you're talking about. Both of the trainers are excellent trainers, and both of the fighters have excellent skills. Sometimes I would point out that the level of opposition doesn't always indicate the level of the fighter.
I agree with that.
Sometimes you can, you don't want your fighter to get beat up or damaged before he gets to the big money, before he gets to the big fights. And so you walk them a little bit different. Sometimes, the philosophy would be, we need to battle test our fighter to make sure we got what we think we got as we walk them up. And so there's just different philosophies about how that works out. And at the end of the day, both of those guys have ended up facing one another square nose to nose. So, it's going to show up on the 22nd. We're going to find out on the 22nd about this fight, Harold.
Yes, I reserve the breakdowns. We've done it so many times, and each time I think about how their styles contrast, I see some more points. And I know that we have a while before this fight happens, so I want to hold on to that. But I have some really good points that I recently got from watching both of them, and I think it's really significant for the fans to know these things and to see that they're either significant or not.
Yeah, and they'll make up their own minds because the one thing about our industry, and the one thing I'll say about the listeners on the Boxing Breakdown is we have great listeners. We have, boxing fans are very passionate fans. And most of them, like a lot of times you hear people say, people, the casuals don't know blank about boxing. And I get that because nobody's going to know what we know. Nobody's going to know what trainers know when you're inside the ring every single day, working with fighters every day. You have a different perspective on the entire industry. But I think that the boxing fan tends to have a good idea. And if they don't, they know where to get the information to figure out who they think is going to win. So, we have a smart contingency of people that support the sport and follow the sport. But also Mark, you do what you do. I've done some major fights or whatever, but I scored the fight the other night with my brother. He's not a boxing fan at all. He doesn't know anything about it or whatever. And he goes on the human instinct. Right. Who won that round? I mean, who beat up the other guy? Right.
And that's where the casuals' enjoyment comes. They don't need to know what you know. They don't need to know what I know. They're the ones who's going to buy tickets. But basically, from a human standpoint, they can look at one round and they can say, that guy won the round. This guy won the round just because of the human instinct. And I think that is what drives our sport. Yeah, we learn it. Yes, we know what we know. I know from a professional judge standpoint, and you know from what you've done, and you judge amateur and you do it all. So we have our understanding, but the casual is the one who, that's kind of derogatory, casual, but the average fan or whatever you want to say, they're the ones who drive it, and they're the ones who exude that passion, and they're the ones who are not trying to really understand exactly what's going on. So I sit there with my brother, and we scored the fight. I said 10 to the winner, 9 to the loser. And he simply just looked at each round as a fight. Right. And it was great to feel that unencumbered, basic, primitive look and understanding of the fight. And that's why I believe this fight is so exciting to everyone, because there's somebody going to look at it and say, hey, that guy won the round. Hey, that guy won the fight. And that's what's going to be exciting. So, yeah, we can throw down the points. He backs straight up. He does this. He does that. They may hear it and whatever. But the bottom line is...
Yeah, we're kind of ruining it for them. Yeah, I mean, so are you willing to make a prediction on this fight, Harold?
Well, we're going to have other shows before the actual fight, of course. So I must reserve some of my information and some of my thought processes, because it's going to change from time to time, because I'll keep studying the film and this, that, and the other, and I'll have this and that and the other. So if you want to just go on the outside right now, where I'm leaning, I'm not even going to say, Mark, because I'm going to throw it right back at you. What do you think, sir?
Oh, man. So my
off the hook. I'm off the hook.
Yeah, you're off the hook. I'm on the hook, man. I am going to have to say to you, all right, this is what I'll say. I'm going to be partial here, or impartial, rather. I think that Gervonta Davis has all the skill sets to get, to take care of business. He's when I say he's a dog, I mean, this guy can fight. This guy will get in there and bang you up. and he's willing to go where people, he's been places that most people have never been. He's got that. He's got that. And that plays a lot into the fight plan and what he's able to do. And as I cited earlier on in the show, I talked about the fights that he had that went, to round 9, to round 12, to round 11, to round, those fights that he had that I mentioned against Barrios, against Isaac Cruz, which went to 12, the one with Rolly Romero, which only went to 6. And then, of course, the Hector Luis Garcia fight. All those fights, Gervonta Davis was able to find a way to win. And I don't think he was just like lucky in all those fights. I think what you're dealing with is a really brilliant fighter who knows how to come up with the proper answers to the puzzle. So I have to say that I'm leaning toward Gervonta Tank Davis, but Ryan Garcia has the size, he has the height, he has the reach, he has a lot of advantages here. And he has that amazing hook that could neutralize coming in and going out for Gervonta Davis. So, I want to look a little bit more as we get a little closer to the fight. I mean, we're about a month away?
45 days.
Okay, we're 45 days away. We're going to come back to this and we're going to address it in a later show. And I'm going to get into what I'm seeing because we're going to see.
As I will also.
Yeah. And as we see, the breakdown is going to reveal who will come up with the victory. Just like we did with the Caleb Plant fight, which I think we should just touch a little bit on as we round out this episode of the Boxing Breakdown, which is, Harold, what do you got on the Caleb Plant fight? Tell me what you saw in that fight.
Well, that was the exciting fight thus far. The run up to that was excellent. I mean, it was great. The 24/7 that they had the one episode. That was really informative. The situation where he's married, he has another child, and then you have Benavediaz in his situation, and how he lost the belt a couple of times, and this and that and the other. And then you had the genuine animosity between the two that was clearly seen in all the press conferences and some of the private stuff that everyone hasn't seen. So it was all there. The actual fight itself, Plant learned from his demise with Canelo.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what to do. Now, some of my boxing friends or whatever across the country, they say, oh, well, but Benavediaz wasn't sharp. He was sharp. He just wasn't able to get into the rhythm that he likes to get into. And as we know, he used the boxing neutralizer. He grabbed them. But to me, Mark, the best thing was after he grabbed him and they broke away, Plant was always first. When he stopped being first after the clinches is when he got himself in trouble. But prior to that, he was first. And he stopped Benavidez's game plan. He constantly made him reset and not get into any rhythm. So I thought that was brilliant on that part, but you can't stop a man with that kind of power. And we saw that. And I just thought the fight was great to see.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I think that, David Benavidez is just a really tough competitor. Again, when we talk about spirit and we talk about, like this belief, this feeling that you just believe that this is going to happen. I saw no cracks in David Benavidez all the way through the lead up of the fight. He just seemed to be really, really focused on winning the fight. He came out from the beginning of the fight and that's what he did. He all the way till the end, he just put on a great performance. And as you said, You're not talking about fighting some tomato can. You're talking about fighting the elite of the elite in that division. And David Benavidez stepped up. He did his work. He got his job done. And, you know, he comes out with another victory and onward and upward. And I am sure we're going to see Caleb Plant again in the future, but certainly hats off to David Benavidez for a really well fought fight. A really well fought fight.
Yeah, he fought well, and he was muted some. You know, he really couldn't get into what he needed to get into, but he found a way to get to it eventually. But the game plan that was put on him from Plant, it was effective, and it was effective pretty good for a good while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was. And, you know, again,